Namaste. So, in part one of the AI series, I talked about my initial days with AI in the 87 to or 85 to 95 period. A lot of interesting projects that we did at that time with external or users as well as internally created problem definitions. I'll talk about those problems and the work that we did in course of time. But first of all, I think what confuses many people or where uh, there is misunderstanding is what is the definition of AI? Of course, it is very hard to define what intelligence means, and therefore even harder to define what artificial intelligence means. So Alan Turing came up with this test called the Turing test, which was one very high level way of defining when machine exhibits intelligence. But to get there, we want to understand what is intelligence. Why, when you say a human being or a particular person is intelligent, what does it mean? But this is also a more of philosophical problem that many people have different definitions of what an intelligent person or an intelligent employee or an intelligent student is about. So we will not get into those philosophical discussions. But if you consider that typically human beings are intelligent, in the sense they do a lot of problem solving, they do a lot of quote unquote intelligent activities in course of even a day's work. So when you get to go to work, the plan that you make, how do you reach to the office, your daily planning, scheduling your activities, replying to people's queries, whatever area your work is, a teacher answering a student's query, a student even asking a question about a topic that has been taught to them, and a doctor treating a patient, a technician fixing a problem in your electric circuits or to any machines. So all of these are not very trivial if you try to formulate it through a computer program. Those standard computer programs with a definite input, definite output, and a fairly clean logic that you do this if conditions and loops do not actually help to define this kind of activities. Okay, so if you were to get this kind of capability on a machine, what would it take? That is how intelligence or artificial intelligence was looked at. So there are certain things that we knew that people are good at. For example, to recognize a person. So you are, let's say, your friend whom you are meeting after 5 years, 10 years, and you see only a part of his face, or he might have put now he might have got beards, or maybe he has grown hair, or he might have become bald, or all of that notwithstanding, you are able to recognize, yes, oh, okay, this is this person. Okay, now try and look at what would it take you to define, given a face, that these are the characteristics that helps you to or determines the identity of that person. Okay, because his nose is like this, or the inter-eye distance is like this, or whatever, you will find that whatever definition you put is inadequate. Okay, and take even a simpler example. You take digits from 0 to 9 and try to write down, given a picture, how do you say that it is 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? You will find that even that becomes very difficult. So, but we are very good at it. Different teachers, different students write it things differently, but people are able to understand what is intended, unless you go to a very extreme case of scribbled writings. So what? So that is one kind of task which we can broadly call pattern recognition, where without a clear understanding of what defines that pattern, we are able to identify what it belongs to or what that pattern represents. The other kind of problems, as I said, daily scheduling activities, planning, problem solving, understanding, and all of that are not even, has no pattern recognition per se in it. Okay, so it's not like you're analyzing something to come up with a pattern there. Those are other kind of problems. Okay, and then maybe a doctor diagnosing a patient and coming up with saying that okay, this is could be the problem, is yet another kind of activity that we do, which we attribute as something that intelligence is required for. Okay, so all of these kind of capabilities is coming from the same brain, right? So what was the idea was to build in a generic capability that a computer can also solve a variety of problems. Okay, now where am I coming to? If you to look at today's AI, mostly they are very specific problem solvers. So a system which can identify disease from, let's say, an MRI scan or an X-ray, cannot do it with any other medical image. Forget going to any other domain or identifying a person from a photograph. That requires different data sets, different training, different models as a capability, essentially a different system. So therefore, we have deviated from the original idea of building an artificial intelligent system. We are building good problem solvers in many areas, so which is of course something that we have to give credit for. So going back to those days, so the view of AI was to enable or empower a machine to do similar kind of processing, detections, analysis, reasoning, whatever that is required, so that it is able to do the kind of thing that a typically human being is able to do. And all that kind of task that I mentioned is inclusive of that. How did they look at this problem? So the very generic sense of this problem was to view the possible solutions or the possible areas that you explore for solutions as a big search space. Okay, so there is this space. So here you are in the initial state. Okay, where, for example, now let's go back to something that is easier for us to relate. Let's say a game like chess. So the initial position of the chessboard is my initial state, and then I make a move. The white or the black makes a move. That is a new state. Now in the odd state, you would ask the opponent to make a move, then come back to that makes an even state. Go to next odd state where you make a move, the opponent makes a move. So you can see that from the initial state of the chessboard, various moves are possible in that state, and then each of those states gives you various next level moves. For each of those states, you can do some, third level moves and so on. So if you look at the entire set of movements possible from the initial state, you can draw a state space diagram. Okay, so two states are connected if it is possible to move from one state to the next by making a single movement, or a single piece is moved on the chessboard. So this idea is actually far more powerful. So many problem solving situations that we have can be modeled as a search problem. Okay, so this was the first insight and the most important insight of building an AI model. So given any problem, let's say if I want to design a classroom schedule for the school or your college or whatever, or you want to make a plan for activities that you should do. So there is the list of activities. I have an empty slate to start with. Okay, so my day is completely empty. I pick up one activity and put it somewhere in the day, let's say from 9 to 5. I insert it at 10 o'clock. I have this appointment. Then I pick up the next one and say, oh, okay, let me schedule it at 2 o'clock, and then pick up the next one, and then put that at maybe 11 o'clock, And then you realize, oh, okay, the fourth one that I have in the list is a longer one. I need a 3 hour continuous slot, which I don't have. So you go back, throw away some of these, and go back to an earlier state and try to accommodate this 3 hour slot first, and then do the other one. So you can imagine constructing your day schedule by picking up one activity at a time and trying to accommodate and going as far as possible till you have no more activities left or you have no more slots left in the day. Okay. Now, you imagine all the different possibilities of doing this exercise. Some of the schedules that you come up will be very good because it's accommodating most of the things that you want to do, and or it might be good because the important activities are getting accommodated, and some schedules might be bad. The part of the reason being bad is that very few activities are accommodated. It could also be because there are lots of gap areas between successive slots. So I'm wasting a lot of time. So now, among all these possible schedules, which one is the best schedule or the optimal schedule which maximizes my return? In the sense, maximum activities should be accommodated. There should be relatively minimal, spare time between activities. High priority activities are given preference. So all of these are my metrics for evaluating which is a good solution. But the building of such a solution is also a search. I start with my initial blank schedule and I start filling up, these schedules one item at a time till one of these conditions are satisfied. So this view of looking at any problem as a search space is key to AI. Okay. Now, there are a lot of search techniques have been postulated for how to search this space to find my solution. So there is the standard depth first search and best first search in the symbol graph. Then we go to heuristic search because the space is so big that I cannot blindly explore the entire search space. So I look for heuristics, thumb rules, which says which move I should explore first. Like in a chess game, a chess player, they don't look at every possible move that is possible and then evaluate, okay, out of these 20 moves, I can do this one is best. They have some idea about what is most important or what is most relevant move at this point. They look at only a few of them and then see how the opponent would react. So these are crudely what a heuristic tries to do. Maybe I'll talk about heuristic search and search techniques in more detail later on. But this is the key observation or key insight in formulating something as an AI problem. Okay, more on it later.